Over the holiday, I made a video discussing these billboards that had popped up, effectively calling on the military to defect, to violate their orders and break the chain of command. The website these billboards send you to instruct these men and women in uniform how to engage in, let's just say, on the lightest side, private communications. But they're basically telling you how to bypass any kind of, let's just say, investigatory scrutiny when you do something illegal. The purpose of the instructions was that they expect you to do something that could be incriminating, compromising, or illegal. To put it simply, my friends, there are elements in this country that are fomenting civil war. I know you may see this cliche, but I've been talking about it for some time, and it's only gotten worse. We now have this story where Mark Kelly, appearing on Meet the Press, says the troops can decide for themselves. They can tell when the orders are illegal. We have this from Meet the Press. Let me show you this in their own words.
Let me ask you about the other big story this week. You joined 5 other Democratic lawmakers in a video urging service members to disobey orders they believe are illegal. We're seeing some of that video play, Senator, right now. In response, the Pentagon has opened an investigation into military laws. It says that you may have violated. The FBI is reportedly launching its own probe. Now, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has personally threatened to recall you to active duty so that you can be court-martialed. Secretary Hegseth adding your video, quote, intentionally undercut good order and discipline. Wow. Did it?
I said something very simple and non-controversial. And Donald Trump said I should be hanged, executed, prosecuted. Pete Hegseth said I should be court-martialed. I mean, how ridiculous is this? We say follow the law, and this is their response. These are not serious people. And Kristen, this is meant to just intimidate us. We're sticking up for the Constitution here and the rule of law, and they're saying these folks should be executed for doing that. I mean, Pete Hegseth is not a serious person. He's unqualified for this job. Should have never been put in this job. I did not vote for him. I think he is the least qualified Secretary of Defense in the history of our country by far. And you can see this by how he has done this job over the last 6 months. And this president thinks he can bully and intimidate people, and he's not gonna stop me from speaking out and holding him accountable for the things that he does that are wrong and unlawful.
Do you plan to cooperate with any investigation, including a potential court-martial?
Well, just like saying that we should be hanged, executed, that's about intimidation. Sending the FBI after us, that's further intimidation. I'll follow the law, but I'm not going to be intimidated. I'm not going to be bullied, especially by Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth.
Let me ask you about the substance of this video and your message in it. What specific orders do you believe President Trump made that you consider unlawful?
Well, so this is looking forward, but let me give you a pass, an outline of things that he has said. In 2016, he said that the U.S. military will follow his illegal orders. He said something on a debate stage and was reminded that would be illegal. And he said the military will not refuse his orders, regardless of whether they're legal or not. He also talked about shooting protesters in the legs. How un-American, how unconstitutional is that? Fortunately, there was a Secretary of Defense that has stopped this. He's also talked about sending troops into U.S. cities to use those cities and people for training. I mean, we're concerned because of this president with this Secretary of Defense that we could have a significant problem. So this was a simple message, follow the law, and it was looking forward.
So I'll address that really quickly. I don't want to just play this straight 6 minutes. We'll address that very quickly. This is an escalation. I'm not going to pretend that Trump is perfect. I don't need to. But of course, the world we live in is if in any way you're defensive of Trump, you're defending everything he does. Now, this is the Stop Making Me Defend Trump show, where when you have people like Mark Kelly and Slotkin, other Democrats, telling troops not to disobey illegal orders, at the same time you have Democrats in Congress and prominent liberal pundits calling everything Trump does illegal. This is the problem. When you have overt illegal activity going on in these Democrat jurisdictions as it pertains to politics, when you have a refusal to deport, you're protecting criminals from federal law. the feds are going to come in and enforce these laws. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I like the idea of federalized police, national police, or the military being deployed. But this is all part of an escalation, and all of it is bad. This man is dumping gasoline on the fire along with progressive groups that are trying to get troops to defect. This all goes in a bad direction. But here's what he has to say about the illegal orders.
Well, and let me talk to you about some of what's happening right now. The Washington Post reporting that Secretary Hegseth gave an order to kill everybody on one of those suspected drug boats during the first strike in September. Are you calling for U.S. service members to actively disobey orders like those?
Well, if orders are illegal, not only do they not have to follow them, they are legally required not to follow them.
Do you think that constitutes an illegal order?
I think there needs to be an investigation, and I hope that the reporting is not accurate. I care so much about the United States Navy and those service members. This was an operation involving the most professional members of the military, U.S. Navy SEALs, who I revere. I hope and pray that this is not true. But there needs to be an investigation by the Inspector General. Pete Hegseth fired many of the inspectors general in DOD. But who's ever left needs to investigate it. We're going to investigate it. I sit on the Armed Services Committee. We're going to have an investigation. We're going to have a public hearing. We're going to put these folks under oath, and we're going to find out what happened, and then there needs to be accountability.
Let me ask you, you referenced this. You were a pilot.
Notice he didn't answer the question, but he basically, this is the game. She asked him about whether or not the orders over the boat strikes and the Venezuelan escalation are illegal, and he says they should not obey illegal orders. This is assumptive reasoning. This is a manipulation technique. What he's doing is tricking people into connecting dots he never said. But we are not retards. Courts don't work this way. You can't call for violence in a video game, and think a judge is going to be like, yeah, okay, I guess I said in a video game. The real issue is when you see people like Mark Kelly intentionally try to incite disloyalty and defection in our military, the only question is, does the political power exist to stop him? The answer is no, it doesn't. Donald Trump may try to exert political authority over these individuals. I mean, he said some extreme things. Sedition, punishable by death. It's not. Sedition is punishable by, I believe, 20 years in prison max. Treason is death, but treason is way more than just this. This is a violation of 18 U.S.C. 2387, inciting disloyalty against the military, in the military. However, the issue is, good luck. Democrat judges are hyperpolarized. And right now we have two distinct nations existing in the same space. The question becomes, will Mark Kelly succeed in his vile and disgusting attempt to sow discontent in our military? Let me just tell you, my friends, Barack Obama blew up kids, okay? And we can talk all day and night about how that's illegal. And we can talk about how we need accountability at the highest levels. We can talk about how in war, men and women in uniform follow orders. Now, there are challenges in how we handle these things. I don't think military strikes are as cut and dry as American domestic policy when, like, CBP is bringing in child sex slaves, right? Even then, it can be a bit of a challenge. But I think if you're a CBP agent and you knowingly transport a young girl into sex slavery or boy, prison. If you're an American serviceman or woman and you're given orders as it pertains to the Caribbean, these drug boats, or the Middle East, depending on the orders, I get it. If you're ordered to go and just like shoot a random person for no reason, like, okay, stop, hold on. But when we're talking about, here's the intelligence, it's not a random person. I mean, literally in the random sense, like if a commanding officer said, hey, see that farmer over there? Shoot him. You'd be like, whoa, hold on. That guy, we know that, like, it's a random guy walking down the street. There are still challenges there because you don't know if he's an appropriate military target. You don't know if he's an enemy combatant, whatever. The point is, there are certain circumstances where you can literally be like, bro, I ain't doing that. More importantly, if they said, like, hey, here's a busload of school kids, unload on it. You'd be like, no way, dude, I'm not doing that. This, we have a military target. It's a boat. We believe it's carrying drugs. Take them out. Now, if we find out after the fact there was a problem, this is yes, accountability and all this stuff. The problem is Mark Kelly and the other Democrats are fomenting factionalization of our military. I talked about this over the weekend. I mentioned, I'm sorry, over the holiday, these billboards popping up. Did you go airborne just to pull security for ICE? Not what you signed up for.org. If you're National Guard, you literally signed up for this. If you are in the military, if you are a Marine, you literally signed up for this. It's called the protective principle. The president can deploy military to federal buildings, and that is a de facto protection of that building. They're not being ordered to enforce domestic law. They can provide logistical assistance and general security for federal property. They're not enforcing domestic law. That would violate posse comitatus. They're telling these troops, these National Guard who literally signed up for this, that they didn't. And then instructing them how to communicate with them in a way to hide information that may incriminate and get them in trouble because it's illegal. And so here we are with Mark Kelly doubling down.
Yourself, you flew 39 combat missions over Iraq and Kuwait. You're asking officers in the field to make really tough calls about the legality of what they are being asked to do. So I want to put the question to you. If you were still in uniform, if you received an order to strike suspected drug boats overseas and kill everybody on board, would you refuse that order in real time?
Well, let me start by saying I've sunk 2 boats, 2 ships. I sunk an OSA-2 missile patrol boat in Kuwait Harbor. I sunk a Polnokny troop carrier in the Persian Gulf during the first Gulf War. Never once did I question whether those orders were legal or illegal. People can tell the difference, should be able to tell the difference between something that is unlawful and something that is lawful. And if I was ever given an unlawful order, I would refuse. If you have time, you can certainly go to the judge, advocate generals, the lawyers, and have a discussion about it. If you don't have time, you just say simply, I'm not going to do that. That's against the law.
It puts a lot of burden on the troops to make a decision in real time.
It puts a tremendous amount of burden on officers in the military, but that is their responsibility. And they can figure out, a reasonable person can tell something that is legal and something that is illegal.
So now you have National Guard in Chicago saying this feels illegal when they're ordered to patrol. It's entirely legal, nothing about it even close to illegal, and National Guard routinely do American domestic work. They're National Guard. Maybe this guy's just retarded. But he is fomenting factionalization of our military. Is it emergent? Just dominoes falling over? You tell me. But again, I say this in every circumstance. It doesn't matter. Now, the individuals of lower cognitive function with 3rd grade reading levels, Sam Cedar, I said his name. I hope he gets a good clip out of this. Intentionally take my statement out of context when I say the truth doesn't matter. So I try to be more clear. The truth doesn't matter to partisans. And what that means is, obviously, the truth matters in a holistic moral sense. But if you're a partisan Democrat trying to foment civil war, unrest, factionalization, you don't care about what's true. You care about what gains you power. Same thing is true for a lot of people on the right. Although I think on the right, it's a tendency. On the left, it's a rule. Certainly there are good people on the left who don't fall into these categories, but most of them do. They know they're lying. And the right has they know they're lying people too, but typically the people on the right are actually just trying to figure out what's true. Mark Kelly, whether he's intending to or otherwise, is fomenting discord in our military, saying, question your orders. You can tell. What he should be saying is, if you feel like an order you're given may be illegal, consult JAG officers. Is what he said, Judge Advocate General? He said, certainly they can do that. That's all I got to do. No. You can't tell. You can ask questions. You can say, what are the rules on this? And they're going to come to you and they're going to tell you, look, what Trump is telling you to do is lawful. But the idea that he is saying that anything Trump is doing right now may be illegal and you should defy it, that's the point. Because the truth is Trump hasn't done anything illegal. So why insinuate otherwise? Right now he's questioning the strikes on the Venezuelan ships. He's saying there should be an investigation. Oh, I hope these reports aren't true. So that the people involved in the Venezuelan operation will say, I don't know, man. Democrats are going to come. They'll come after me. They've already threatened it. The factionalization is happening and it's getting worse. These people are insane, and Mark Kelly should resign. Scumbag. He's doing this for political reasons. He's doing it so that he can grandstand. There's no reason to do this. But these people have lost their minds. I'm not going to sit here and defend Trump saying sedition is punishable by death or any of that. Everyone's going crazy. But it is terrifying, and Democrats started it. Again, by all means, Trump shouldn't have said what he said. The point is, he didn't throw the stone. The Democrats did. They said his orders are illegal and people should defy illegal orders. Liberal pundits and Democratic politicians for the whole year, Trump's first year, second term, have been saying his orders are illegal. National Guard deployment illegal. Marine deployment illegal. Questioning the Venezuelan strikes. And then saying, you should defy illegal orders. We get it. These people, if they are not charged, arrested, and stopped, will continue to foment discord. There needs to be proof to the American people that our union is strong and our laws stand. I guess we'll see. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone you know. Stay tuned, more to come. Thanks for hanging out, and see you on the next segment.